Real quick, before we start, we just wanted to say that we are in the process of revamping the Patreon, and one of the current plans is to put the most of or the entirety of the current season on Patreon to watch. We will still continue to release things, or we still plan to release things weekly, an episode a week, but if you want to watch more, or hopefully the whole thing, if I can get it all edited, you can patron and head over there and watch it along with us.
Yay!
So...
I wanna do real bad things with you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is I'm watching True Blood, Season 2, Episode 7.
Release me.
Because that's what he says.
Yeah. Also, Sookie's trapped. It works on multiple levels.
So basically, all of that plot we blasted through in the last episode, we were sort of dealing with the ramifications and sort of like exploring, earning, marinating in this episode. So it's in that regard, I think they work better as a pair.
Sure. I'll allow that. Like a two-parter.
But also in that regard, there's not like a lot. We do get, says Daphne betrayed Sam. He confronts her about it. She's very...
With a gun.
There was some violence against women in this.
Not a fan.
Episode. Yeah, he approached Daphne. She was very blasé about it.
Hello, Sam.
Been looking for you.
Figured you would be.
I have complicated feelings about Daphne. I have the memory of liking her, and in this season rewatch, I feel like I'm supposed to, or like I do like her, but I just don't. Is she underdeveloped?
She's a little underdeveloped, and I think it's because we knew she was gonna die in this episode, and so we were like...
I thought it was longer. You
thought it was longer?
Yeah.
Oh.
When she was sitting on the dock, I was like, it's this episode.
Yeah.
You know?
So I think that's the kind of the thing where we are like, she's underdeveloped, she doesn't stick around quite as long as she needs to, and then she is killed by a man at the behest of another woman.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the henchwoman aspect. I just sort of, I think that there was something more interesting in the implications of, maybe it's as simple as, so we find out Maryann is in fact a Maenad, which mythologically they were the followers of the god Dionysus. And yes, he was the god of wine. That's not like 13th on his list of duties.
No, that's what
he do. And so I just feel like to have this seductive henchwoman to a Maenad named Daphne, I wanted something more Greco-Roman. And this is where, because we talked about the siren thing, it's like so when you find out she's another shapeshifter, it's like, oh, so just another of what we already have. And then she doesn't...
Now, also, I remember now why you wanted her to be a doe, because her name is Daphne. I get it. I don't care, but I get it. I felt
like they wrote a check with their lips that they did not cash with their ass. That's how I feel about her plot here.
Sure.
Although I do have to say, she is dead, but she has one more spectacular plot element coming up, and I'm a little bit excited to revisit it for personal reasons that we'll delve into. People who know what's happening are probably like, what in God's name?
People who know what's happening and people who know me and my propensity for cooking.
You just gave it away.
Know what I did.
There's that. She tried to pull some like mumbo jumbo. I'm very fickle with my what I accept from fantasy. Does that make sense? Do you feel that way yourself, or okay, you think it's all?
I mean, if it's poorly written, I don't like it. But if it's a fantasy thing, I'm generally willing to just sort of like let things slide.
I wish she was just a Maenad, and they try to, but she's Satan, but Satan's not Satan. Satan's just wild wilderness, the horned man.
Okay.
People call her all kinds of things. Holly, Lilith, Isis. Gaia, Dionysus, Satan. It's really just a kind of energy.
That I'm with you, because that's not fantasy. That is couched in, like, thousands of years of religious tradition. And so it's like you can't just take this.
You can just change 400-year-old literature.
Well,
We're going to get a lot of get over it content moving forward.
just for a little while. You can't take a handmaiden of Dionysus and also make her Lilith from Christian scripture.
And I mean, you can, but
I need
yeah.
the math's not mathing like it did in Dracula 2000. That's all I'm saying.
I don't like how they did it. I don't like that. And because they try to pull another thing, mild spoiler for what's coming up, but I remember Queen Sophie-Anne having this asinine piece of dialogue where she's like, everything that exists because it imagined itself existing. And I'm like, what?
No, that's bullshit.
What are you talking about? And so
because that just implies that one day a human person woke up and was like, I think I'd like to drink blood and be immortal, and then it just happened.
And so I feel I'm working through my issues in real time. This is more of a therapy session. But I'm like open to a lot of crazy ideas and stuff. But in a general sense, I do feel like fantasy and specifically mythology has codes.
Yeah.
There are, unfortunately, boxes that I think you should be able to put things in.
I agree.
And we can move those boxes around. I don't know. It's fine. I appreciate the swing. I just don't know that.
Yeah, I just think that there was too wide a variety of the things that Daphne said that Marianne was. And I'm like, you can't have all of those.
Because I do like the notion.
Pick 4.
I like the notion that she's a chaos entity. That she doesn't. Because on one hand, you're confused because it's like, well, in certain aspects she's making things better, but in other aspects she's making things worse, and it's because she doesn't really have a moral compass.
Yeah.
She doesn't. Her world doesn't work that way.
She's really doing it just for the vibes. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's very, very ambitious. I think in a way that is mixed.
Yeah.
Because it's not terrible.
It's not terrible. It's not incredible.
So everybody, it as annoying as Andy Bellefleur is, his storyline here is a delight.
It's a very Cassandra moment, to keep with the Greek mythology aspect of it.
But it's just so funny because we don't like him because he's a jerk, or he's
just antagonizing characters who've done nothing wrong.
And he's overbearing, and he's got that local cop energy.
Well, and also it gets to a real point where it's like a torture scene in a movie where they're just like, I know that you know about this, and the person getting tortured is like, I don't, and we the audience are like, they don't know anything, and then he gets tortured anyway. Like, that's the energy Andy Bellefleur is bringing.
But it's like, because normally I would feel bad for a character getting gaslit, but I just kind of think he deserves it. And also, it's just so funny to have the entire town are like, okay, Alki, glug, glug.
Well, in fairness, they are all being gaslit. Sure. They just don't know it. But Andy is the only one who has I know where I seen that hog.
and all you all were there with zombie eyes.
I will say also, Chris Bauer is delivering the performance of a lifetime.
And it is building off of the previous season, because as we have mentioned in almost every recording, this is weeks in a time frame.
Yeah.
It's not the years that it feels to us.
No, max, it's been 2 total months since the beginning of season 1.
So, Arlene thinks she date raped Terry. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
The whole thing was very interesting.
Because it's not actually played for comedy either, which I like.
No. It's not unfunny.
It's not unfunny, mostly just because of Tara's, delivery of the line, are you telling me you date raped Terry Bellefleur? But Arlene is legitimately
concerned
and worried because, Terry won't get physical with her, and so she was like, I'll get a couple drinks in him, and then I blacked out, but then I knew that we had sex the next morning, and he was acting really weird, and, I don't know what to do, and it's interesting.
Yeah. We got more Bill and Lorena stuff. So the explanation is that he, I guess, was just trying to go with it because he didn't have...
You are right. he literally just woke up one day and was like, I don't feel it anymore.
And I never did. I was just, I don't know.
You were so into it to just be going with it. I don't know. I call bullshit. I don't like Bill. I don't like him. And a lot of it is because of future stuff that we haven't found out yet, but I don't like him.
It's just like, it's asking a lot of us because at this point we still have a lot of goodwill in like invested into Sookie and Bill's relationship because of season 1, because they did a very good job establishing it. But to introduce this character and to introduce this level of conflict that she made him, ergo he belongs to her, ergo there's all this, like, 'cause we enter this world from a very human perspective, but this is counting on us understanding the vampire code. Yeah. And it's like, we get it on a, like, intellectual level, but we don't get it on an emotional level. And so it's like, she's just this obstacle, and it's unfair to, I don't know, that I don't know if they think she's more compelling than she is.
They do. They 100% think that, because I totally disagree. I don't find her very compelling at all. It's like, and also it's, in my opinion, you know, we've been doing the Buffy comparisons. In my opinion, this is a very cheap ripoff of Darla and Angel, but where like it just, for me, it doesn't work because the Buffy and Angel, Darla and Angel storyline worked so much better.
Well, both Darla and Drusilla are interesting characters on their own. Ergo, I would invest in their relationships.
Well, we also find out about Darla's past in a way that we don't find out about Lorena's past. So it's like we only know her from when she meets Bill. And so for us, it's like, what, you know, spoilers, I guess, for a little bit of Buffy and Angel, but it's like you realize at a certain point that like the reason Darla is so enamored of Angel is because she was never allowed anything like that in her human life. She was a prostitute, and so in like the 1600s. So it's like there's like a whole thing, and she just wants beautiful things, and David Boreanaz in the 90s is a beautiful thing. But we don't get that like anything from the past.
There's not the dreamy romanticism, and it's, she's presented like this reveal, like this big bad reveal, and I will give 2 out-of-pocket examples where it worked. It's sort of like when they were doing Dynasty and they established I can't think of her name, but Joan Collins. Yeah. They had established a character before they even cast Joan Collins. And it like, you had to nail the reveal. Like the audience had to understand her in an instant of taking off the hat. Right. It's similar with Tammy's in Parks and Rec, where it's like they've set such a precedent with Megan Mullally that how are they going to? Yeah. And this is not
and
at
the only place you can go is Patricia Clarkson. 100%.
But also those 2 women come in doing something so fully formed and so immediate. Yeah. And this is not at all meant, because I'm not in the business of bullying artists.
I don't think it's her fault. Her name's Mariana Claveno. I don't think it's her fault.
But there's just we should be in shock and awe. Like we should gasp at Bill's maker. And at most we're like, this bitch again? Still? Like,
because she's also still keeping him in the room. They're both getting the meat sweats essentially.
Continue.
So and then they're like staying up all day. That's bad for you. You're not, as a vampire, you're not supposed to do it. And like, she's doing it because she's trying to convince him that like Sookie doesn't matter.
But it seems that she genuinely wants him.
Which I don't understand. Why do you want someone so bad that doesn't want you at all? So like,
especially when they introduced it as like she's like it was like she's having fun, like cat and mouse.
And I'm predator, like,
but the cat doesn't want to fuck the mouse.
Right. Well, this cat does.
But that's what I'm saying, where it's like the way that they positioned her from her introduction, it just doesn't, there's not a narrative, a gratifying narrative.
Because like if you
trajectory.
Let the thought experiment go, so like let's say he gives into her, then like let's say, you know, generously you get another like maybe 40 years of reluctant companionship from this man before he falls in love with another different human.
Because like I feel like it would work better if he was actually somehow devoted to her and she threw him over.
Sure, 100%.
So now it's like, oh, fuck, do I go back to my abusive ex or who I'm better suited for?
Yeah.
Or do I...
But he's absolutely not better suited for Lorena.
And that they're vampires.
Well, sure, but but personality-wise, no, because he is like a Lord Byron poem all the way. He just wants to be schmoopily devoted to
So
Sookie.
she is just merely an obstacle.
Yeah.
And that's not...
It's not fun. It's not interesting.
Because, someone else who was an obstacle like Maryann, we're having fun with her.
Yeah.
Like, it's at least so I don't know. It's a little fascinating. I could probably keep going if I needed to, but she's still on the show.
We've spent quite a lot of time already.
It's interesting having the language to explain up to and including. It was very fascinating watching this because he said the word nihilism, and I was like, it's fun watching this now because at 22 I was like, I didn't know what that word meant.
Yeah.
And so in that, similarly, it's interesting revisiting this, having the words to explain my feelings.
Because that's very true. Maryann is a nihilistic creature where she's just like doing the dark stuff kind of for the sake of it. And Bill, as misguided as it sometimes is a hopeful person where he has an optimism to him. And
then to be contrasting this with Hoyt and Jessica next door.
Yeah.
Because there's a part of me that I'm like, can Jessica not do something? Like,
okay, well, I have a plot hole bone to pick with this episode, which is when they checked into the hotel, there are 2 rooms next to each other that are fully soundproofed. However, when Barry the Bellman comes back, he is talking to Bill through the door and Bill can hear. So Bill can hear that.
And Eric can hear.
Bill can hear that, and Eric can hear it from the room across the hall, but Jessica can't hear anything from the room next door, and Bill can't hear Jessica fucking Hoyt.
Well, Hoyt is blaring Leona Lewis.
I got these at the gift store downstairs. Blood's in it. To me, they just smell like soup. You like them?
They're perfect.
That's what I was going for.
Hoyt is just the best.
Perfect first time or perfectest first time? You tell me.
Perfectest. It's sweet. Perfectest fictional first time. If any person I had ever slept with had done that.
While you were sleeping? So you wake up to it?
She's like dead to the world while she's sleeping, but if I had walked
You wake up to it sex time!
If I had walked into anywhere with candles and flower petals and all, I would have been like, ugh.
But even that, like, to add to the fun part as an audience where he's like, I got the candles from the gift shop, so he's thrifty, but also... thoughtful and sharp, like he's on his toes, and he's like, they're supposed to smell like blood, but to me it mostly just smells like soup. That's funny. It's like I'm enjoying myself as this thing is happening. I'm like breaking down the narrative.
It's very cute. It's very silly. Hoyt is checkmark 100 himbo man.
There's a part of me that I'm like, I sort of wish Jessica could have, and not contrasting, not in the same time that she's losing her virginity, the first of several. But I wish she had somehow factored into this
into the Bill and Lorena
and saving
stuff?
Sookie.
Sure.
Because had Lorena gone to Bill through Jessica, then I would have, because I care about Jessica. I don't know. I don't like how it's set up.
I agree.
Sookie calls out to Barry. It would be so much better and so much more interesting if anything came of it.
Yeah, but now Barry's dead.
Is this?
I think he's dead.
I remember they kill him very unceremoniously.
He got snatched into the hotel room that Eric came out of, so I want to know who else is in that room with Eric.
He might have one more episode, I don't remember, but I remember there was nothing much of it. And so it's just sort of like... And also, Eric's not the one who rescues Sookie, so I don't know... Did they answer that?
I think they answer that.
It was Godric, man, to have such polar opposites in the same episode. Because I was gonna say one of the best casting choices and a character that we have for I think 2 episodes.
He is
spoiler alert, he's not in a lot of it.
He is in I think 4 total episodes.
But we loved Godric.
The whole story is great. It's really good. It brings out really good acting moments from Alexander Skarsgård. It's really great.
Well, it sets up to keep with the Buffy comparisons. Godric sort of single-handedly sets up the Buffy and Spike, like the Sookie and Eric, that without, you know what I mean? It's
100%.
And so it's so weird to be like, to drop the ball in one hand.
Yeah.
They think that Jason is there with Sookie because, I mean, understandably, they're related. It's not a very common name.
It's just like, people are constantly overestimating Jason's smarts because Steve Newland is like, obviously you're here. They sent you here too. And Jason is like, the road crew? Like, we know who you're working with.
We know who you work
the road
for.
crew. And it's just like, I don't understand how you think Jason is smart enough to be pulling off this level of subterfuge.
Mm-hmm. But he thinks they're after him for sleeping with Sarah. That information does not come out yet. He does overpower Gabe. Mm-hmm. Is Gabe dead or alive? Godric has him. I don't remember.
I don't know. I think Godric kills him.
Okay.
But he aggressively tries to rape Sookie to show her what she's been missing from human men. And if this is the way human men are going to treat me, into the garbage. Absolutely not. Fucking disgusting.
It's disgusting all around. Although that's not a criticism of the production. I think there are story reasons to implement that, to play that card. And I think that was as good a reason as any. But
it's really, yeah.
And also the timing of everything.
Oh, yeah.
But so Sarah finds Jason and hilariously shoots him.
Oh, Sarah, no.
Don't remember.
I feel like it's got to be like a BB gun or something.
It's something I don't remember, or like a beanbag gun, maybe. I don't remember the fallout.
She's backlit with this like insane helmet of hair, and it like is in slow motion, and we're on his face, and he's like,
maybe a paintball, like maybe a paintball gun, something.
It's a fake out if ever there were one.
He's literally at this point just trying to leave because he feels so guilty, and he's like, I don't know how in this I am anymore.
It's well into the night when she catches up to him, and I'm like, he's got to be halfway back.
So far.
We did find out that I was right, that Hugo was the mole.
Yeah.
And
he like explains the whole thing about how you change your life to suit them and like all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, you're the one that got in a relationship with a vampire.
I'm not really. And also, and again, this is not this. If you feel like I'm being so personal, this is not an attack against the actor, because frankly, I think the actor is great. But it's like I was so significantly more endeared to Isabella in a quarter the amount of time when she had the conversation with Eric.
Yep.
Tell me, what is it that you find so fulfilling about human companionship?
They feel much more strongly than we do. Everything is urgent, exciting. Maybe because their lives are so temporary.
Did you find the prospect of him growing old somewhat repulsive?
No, I find it curious, like a science project.
Than I was with this, like, feel bad for me
because
speech.
Eric is like, why are you so attached to your human? And Isabella, whatever. She's like, because everything is so urgent for humans. Everything is so immediate, and they like are
they
so
feel
much more
things
passionate.
Stronger.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's such a good answer, and I get it. And she doesn't take it on board that he got scared for a minute and he's not scared anymore because he thinks he's where he's supposed to be. She just is like, oh, maybe there was like almost danger and it's fine now. But
she was like, he was scared, but it passed, so he's okay. I don't know. Like I said, I was far more endeared to her in a quarter the amount of time.
Yeah, agreed.
So, and I think he's been disposed of as well. If not, it's to come.
Yeah, Gabe at least knocked him out for sure.
So. And they did say the thing that we just were talking about where Bill was like, does it not disgust you that they're gonna, grow old and crippled?
Yeah.
And she was like, no, I think of it as sort of a science experiment. And I was gonna say, it's also, I mean, they're sort of like pets. And it's like, I mean, no, we don't have romantic relationships with pets. But it's...
yeah.
We take there are life cycles in human lives. Like,
I agree.
It's part of even a human has to watch people grow old and die.
Yeah,
so,
Lafayette also met Eggs and looked Tara dead in the eyes and said, "He is Satan in a Sunday hat."
Satan in a Sunday hat, girl. I'm trying to tell you, Satan in a beautiful fucking Sunday hat.
And Tara's like, and carries on making out with him.
it takes Makad Brooks. I find him very appealing. I'm a big fan of his. It takes
tall and
him
beautiful.
a minute to get a character that I think is worthy of him.
Yeah.
Because he was not greatly used in Desperate Housewives. And as I recall, I don't love...
The direction on Supergirl.
Well, I was gonna say the rest of his arc here.
Yeah.
I stopped watching Supergirl before he left, so I liked him on Supergirl,
Yeah.
but I just really wanted the spoiler alert. Maybe I don't remember, so I can't tell. But he's not in season 3. Let's put it that way.
Correct.
And I was kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
we're having a lot to say about the middle of season 2. of
I'm
True
shocked.
Blood.
I'm actually shocked. Like,
I think it's what I said, where I was like, I can actually explain
Yeah.
what's not working for me.
Maryann killed a rabbit. Tara continues to be like, "You are living in my friend's house. Stop having ragers, please." And she's like, Sookie will just be glad that you're surrounded by people that love you. And it's
Tara's
like,
suspicious,
not
but
suspicious
it's
enough.
not. It's like she's not pushed forward into the action.
Yeah.
It's so.
Because she also starts getting a little more suspicious when Arlene is telling her she blacked out and she thinks she had sex with Terry. But again, she's like not connecting the dots enough, in my opinion. So I think that is it.
Okay.
Right.
Well, bye.
Bye.